I gotta say, I love number 3.
They help though, you know?
Yeah.
No, I mean, certain things here I agree with. I mean, I can definitely see where, as far as the union's perspective is concerned, these are all absolutely true. I don't see much stretch of any imagination here to identify these points as things that specifically either harm the union or actually harm service to TriMet riders. Some of the stuff though, I don't like. Okay, like this, wasted up to $3.5 million each year by subcontracting our disability transportation service, even though that service is plagued with rapid turnover and consequent service problems. Are they saying they're going to do it cheaper? Didn't it get subcontracted out for the first place because it was so expensive? And already it's subsidized at $50+ per rider mile or whatever. I mean, it makes the West look cheap.
I could look it up, but it's, I have heard problems. I have heard people say they have problems with the lift.
Based on that though, based on the subsidy rate for that stupid service, and I'm going to call it stupid because it's nothing but, you can call a damn taxi that has handicap service anywhere in Portland and have them come pick up someone and deliver them somewhere for cheaper. They should pay for the taxi service to
and they do that when they don't have enough people, I believe.
Well, they shouldn't even run the service.
I don't think the taxi. I think their argument is that the taxi drivers don't get paid enough, whatever, and don't get benefits and other stuff.
Well, the drivers also don't like demand massive subsidies either. They just use the road system as is, which is
but I've heard. I don't know about how the people, the ones who do this, disabled people who.
They work under the same.
But I know other taxi drivers. They don't get paid a lot. And they don't get benefits and whatever. And
so are you saying we should subsidize them?
Well, I think
because I mean, if they get pay increases, that's what we're gonna have to do. I mean, already people have a problem with taxi fees. I mean, people in the U.S., to put it simply, don't want to pay for what they use when it comes to transportation. They want it to come out of the general budget.
Yeah.
They want the upper incomes to pay for it. They want a free ride. And that's basically what U.S. citizenry has. And that's one of the reasons that people can drive cars, is the vast majority of people in the country don't pay for their transportation costs. They just don't.
Yeah. You know.
So, here's a taxi driver who's paying, give or take whatever it is, his car costs and that kind of stuff and taxes and whatever. But he's getting paid out of the fees that somebody's actually paying the system.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not anything else out there that covers that except airline service, really. Maybe Greyhound, sort of, kind of, maybe sometimes. That one's kind of up in the air. I have a hard time tracking down their numbers. But I mean, the only other thing is I mean, everything gets money dumped at it these days. But taxi service is actually pretty buoyant unto itself. So it gets down to, does society want to give taxi drivers benefits all of a sudden? Because no one else is going to do it except the tax base.
The operating cost for boarding ride with Lyft is $28.63 compared to West, which is $18.78. But
here's another thing I got to ask about West. How do they even get that number though? The thing's not even a year old.
I know that. I've been wondering that too. No, I've been wondering that too.
Are they expecting it to break in like 5 years? I mean, $18 per rider seems pretty high.
But they got the conductor. They've got, and I would like to know.
Well, I did the numbers. If they didn't have to have 2 people per train, if they had 1 person per train, even at the ridership that it's at now, they'd be doing better than bus service.
Really?
As far as efficiency and cost,
I'd be surprised.
I mean, even all they got to do is carry like 30 or 40 people, and they're going to beat most of the bus system.
They don't yet carry that. The other thing is they have to pay for the vehicles, which I guess are gas hogs.
No, they're not. They get better gas mileage than buses.
I know, but Eric says, and other people say that they're really heavy because the FRA,
they are heavy.
Really
okay,
heavy.
Everything in the U.S. is heavy compared to countries that are smart, that allow their companies to build smart vehicles. Our trains are heavier, our cars are heavier. All this crap's heavy.
I think the thing with Lyft versus West is that every ride on Lyft is a complete trip because there's no transfers.
Right.
Though there have been, I guess in the past, I was looking at this in the past, the originating rides were not always the same as the boarding rides. But on West, people might transfer a couple times.
Right.
So it's not really.
I mean, even if you count it at the ridership that it has, which is averaging what 30 people a
It
car.
wasn't that bad, 'cause I rode it twice, you know, in going down to Salem this past month, and it was halfway
Well, that's what I'm
decent.
saying. It doesn't seem that Wes is okay based on the standards that transit agencies have. I consider Wes an abysmal failure because the management of it was just wretched. I mean, they totally botched up. Then they tried to save the company, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and then they proved that they can get working equipment that's already got a good track record, no pun intended. For 140 grand,
Well,
they have 2 DMUs.
the question is whether they would build, or they would, how they would work in daily service, you know, I mean.
What in daily service?
Every day, you know, rush hour service.
You mean the DMUs that have
Yes.
worked 50 years and
Well,
everyday
I mean, they
service?
weren't putting, I'm saying, would they stand up to heavy, I mean, use?
Shit, yeah, they did in
But they-
Chicago
that
and
was-
other areas.
Oh,
they were used.
I'm saying in Alaska, these cars were only like a couple days a week or something, it was no light.
Well, right, but I mean that versus this new stuff that they had zero idea about. The only evidence that any of them ever did anything was one caught on fire in Florida and some other random crap.
Yeah.
I mean, they had
Actually, that was
no.
Colorado.
Yeah, they had no track record. Again, no pun intended. So they got zero track record on these things. They buy a couple of them. They get shorted equipment, so they can't even run at an efficient level. Based on FRA rules of them having to have 2 people on the train, they have to fill up 2 cars, a DMU and a trailer, to make it as efficient as 3 buses running the same service.
Yeah.
Because of the 2 people. If they had
Oh.
1 person driving it, they could fill up that 1 car and it would skyrocket
I
past
don't,
bus efficiency.
yeah, if you could fill it up, then yeah.
It would just like 70 people too. You could have a couple seats extra, empty. You know,
Yeah.
you don't need much to clear efficiency, paralleling bus service with 1 person driving and 1 vehicle.
Yeah.
The problem is that second person, because
Yeah,
those
I mean-
people aren't cheap either. I mean, you have to have
Right.
a qualified individual
Yeah, I
operating.
mean, they're railroad people, and
Right.
I don't know, but I mean,
Yeah,
this
they
it's still,
exactly.
it's,
Trying to bus
forgetting about
which I assume
ridership.
is probably paid a lot less.
but forgetting about ridership, you know, it's still $1,000 an hour, which is like 4 times max, what max is.
Is it? I don't even know what max is. I always
Max
ran the numbers
is
and then you
operating
said-
cost per vehicle hour.
Is it?
Bus is $94.73. Rail, which I believe is just max, is $264.75.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Wow, that is cheap.
yeah, it's $264.
Wait a second,
That's
dude.
who
I'm upping
numbers
the
is
fares to
this?
$3 and I'm renting every damn max from now on. People will pay me $3.
And West is a grand total of $1,029.35.
Per hour.
Yes, per vehicle hour.
No, but seriously, if TriMet would have done their shit right, and Nashville has proven that you can do this, you can run commuter rail way cheaper than bus service.
Yeah.
And barely have anybody on it, but it doesn't matter because it's so
Oh.
bloody cheap. I mean, they had existing trackage rights, or well, road to build extra into, all that stuff. The tracks basically, yeah, they doubled in price, but that was because of steel, so I can't quite blame TriMet for that.
Yeah.
That was just shit happens, whatever. But like them getting in that boondoggle with Colorado Rail Car,
yeah.
they should have. This is an untested system. They should have got some initial basic used equipment
Yeah.
for next to nothing and ran it. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, they could have put the 4449 on some cars, ran it in daily service, and paid less money.
You know how much people that would attract?
That's what I
No
mean.
kidding.
But-
You could have bought damaged Amtrak cars for next to nothing, for like 50 grand a pop, and fixed them for less than $1 million a piece.
Right.
Probably for less than
They're all
half a
whole
million. The simple fact of the matter is, they could have got true tested equipment, etc. They could have got used equipment. They could have got something. They could have got freaking straight up engines with passenger cars for cheaper than what they ended
Yeah.
up with the DMUs and the.
Well, that's
trailer.
what Metrolink did.
Yeah.
Metrolink has 2 complete sounder train sets.
Oh, yeah. They're-
Complete, locomotive and all.
I
They
thought
have,
they were gonna take them
and they
back.
just put
They
their
will eventually.
their decal across. Well, they're leased.
Yeah.
Eventually, the contract will expire. And they also have an Ace train set.
Oh, I didn't know
Oh, yeah.
that.
They have 1, but they have the entire set
Set of equipment,
locomotive and everything.
It's a win-win, you know?
So, and I think VRE got one of Sounders train sets.
Yeah.
They did,
maybe.
because I saw it over in Virginia, and I'm going, what the hell? Why is a sounder train in Virginia?
So, if
Okay.
TriMet would have #1 built regular old fancy platforms,
Mm-hmm.
Just the ones that are this high from the ground.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they're 14 inches or something. Why couldn't they build those and then who cares if Caltrain pulls up one and the next train's a sounder? Nobody cares.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but they could see what equipment they like and then decide what they want to buy.
Well, the other
They're
thing
all-
is too is
they're all
no
on the
equipment is
B&B.
interchangeable with our system.
Yeah.